Candlewick on Brilliance Audio presents The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslye Walton, performed by Whitney Dykehouse.
They have been called many things. Years ago, when their nomadic ways led them north to where the mountains were covered in ice and the winter nights were long, the villagers called to them, Hexa, Hexa, and left gifts of lutefisk and thick elkskins. When they moved farther south, they were Sangoma, and as honored as the village's own traditional healers. In the east, they were the fearsome Dun. In the west, they were called Lalechuza and were rumored to have the ability to transform into birds. They've been called healers and seers, shapeshifters and conjurers, wise ones, heretics, witches. They've been welcomed and revered as often as they've been feared and despised. History books throughout the world are filled with tales of their spilled blood spilled willingly or unwillingly. A family by the name of Blackburn was known to be particularly talented. Their talents delved deep into the realms of intrigue, clairvoyance, telekinesis, divination. They used their gifts to heal the sick or to ease the passing of those they could not heal. They used their gifts to help build towns or to defend them. Some of them were lovers, some of them fighters. A fair few were both. For centuries, over lifetimes, the truth of their power seemed everlasting. A blooming flower that would never wilt. A full moon that refused to wane. That is, until Rona Blackburn made the fateful decision to move to an obscure island off the Washington coastline and brought that long line of impressive family talent to a rather catastrophic and unexpected end. Anathema Island sits at the tail end of the San Juan archipelago that winds through the cold waters of the Salish Sea. The word anathema refers to something dedicated to the gods. Coincidentally enough, it can also indicate someone accursed, someone damned, someone doomed. A fitting name, it would seem then, for an island buffeted by rain-bearing winds and cloaked in a sky so gray that the ocean and the heavens seemed one and the same. It was a place so remote and so inconsequential that cartographers rarely bothered to mark it on maps. The island's absence from atlases didn't matter to the swell of Lochtamish families who'd inhabited it for centuries. But that flourishing community fled and scattered throughout the archipelago like leaves in the wind with the arrival of 8 daring settlers who never bothered to ask if the land already belonged to anyone else. Mac Forget, having failed to find his fortune in the gold mines of Canada's Caribou Country, was the first of the 8 to arrive in 1843. Soon after came Jebediah Finch, an experienced farrier. The man they all called Portmaster Sweeney had been a trapper. It was his keen eyes that kept watch over the small dock on the southwest corner of the island. Forsyth Stone, an evangelical pastor, imagined leading his fellow islanders away from the debauchery and immorality that tend to infect men left to their own devices. Avery Sterling was a talented carpenter. Simon Mercer came from a long line of farmers. Otto Birch, the good German, migrated from a small town in Northern California. And they all considered themselves quite lucky with the arrival of Dr. Sebastian Farce, his black medical bag, and his opium ampoules. Each man claimed his own piece of land, a few hundred acres on which he kept goats and sheep, and built a small shack where he slept with his boots on. A meal was a piece of hard cheese or jerky carved with the same knife used to dig out splinters and ingrown toenails. They shat outdoors alongside the goats. It would be another few years before their wives and children would join them. And so, it was in this way that the menfolk of Anathema Island lived. Until one blustery day, at the cusp of yet another long, hard winter, they received a rather unexpected and uninvited guest.